Usually I try and do more preparation, have an outline, make some notes, rehearse, that type of thing, before I do these type of live streams. Um, but today you're going to kind of get the quick and dirty version of things, because there is something that I've run across a number of times over the years. Um, People having certain ideas about meditation, and the idea that you need to practice from an authentic tradition with an unbroken line of transmission, and that you need to develop like skill at meditation itself, um, and that this skill is kind of in being able to like instantiate the particular aesthetic and skills of the transmission, the lineage that you are working within, is kind of a goal in and of itself, for practicing meditation. Um, and I mean, obviously, there's a lot of people who are a lot more well educated and learned and scholarly and endorsed by various traditions than I, who will make that argument. But I have noticed that you have people who can, oh my God, Oliver's escaping, who can stand to, they want to benefit from meditation or spiritual practice. But the whole idea of how it's usually presented is so daunting that they feel overwhelmed. And usually it's at a time of life where, like you're having to care for a loved one, or someone at the end of life, something like that. That's specifically what I'm thinking about right now. And so you don't realize that there are a huge number of different approaches towards meditation. It's very possible to work these practices into your life and benefit from them in very doable ways. So I'd like to address that today. Now, first I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how I learned to meditate, and how I was taught to view meditation, specifically by Leslie Temple Thurston, Corlight, who I've spoken about before, and Lama Kunga Rinpoche of Ewam Choden Meditation Center in Kensington, who is a Sakya Rinpoche, and who I studied with for a number of years and lived with him in the center, along with his other students. This, along with the teachings that I had from my entities that I met in my near-death experience, really informed how I looked at practice, which is very different from how I see it on so much of social media and so much of just the online information about what a spiritual practice looks like. What does Buddhist meditation look like? Why are you doing this in the first place, right? I feel terrible. My mouth is horrible. I'm having fevers. I'm having like a lupus flare. So just strap in. Okay. I wanted to talk about what it was like for me to study with a certified Rinpoche. I feel so corny saying this, but Lama Kunga Rinpoche, Lama Kunga, not Kuka Rinpoche, he was born in Tibet to an aristocratic family. His father was a treasurer for the Dalai Lama's government, and this was, I think, like around late 1930s or something. Anyway, so he was recognized as a Rinpoche as a little boy, and taken away from his family and raised by monks in the Sakya tradition. And yeah, so he was taken away from his family. They still had contact and everything, but yeah, the monks beat him, and he learned a ton of techniques, lucid dreaming, POA for like after someone dies, and then when their next rebirth is coming in, to give them the most auspicious rebirth, all type of empowerments. Yeah, so then he ended up, of course, the Chinese invaded. My point in talking about him is he had like extensive, very authentic, like on the ground in Tibet, the whole thing, training, right? Anyway, so he had to escape, and I just remember him telling me about, how, I mean, it's like tremendously frightening, because it's not just your personal safety, but it's like this, your entire culture and religious system and everything, and everyone in every place you've ever known at risk. But he talks about crossing over the border in the mountains from Tibet into India, and they were going through these jungle forests, and there were just like these huge, languid, just like beautiful jewel-like butterflies in this forest, and in the midst of this terrible immigration. So anyway, so then he got out of Tibet and he made his way over to the United States. And the funny thing is, if you like kind of synchronicities of these type of things, he ended up making landfall in the U.S. like within a week of when I was born. So that's kind of a fun thing that we ended up meeting up later. Anyway, so he founded this meditation center in Kensington and got Caucasian Western students and stuff. It's like right near Berkeley, California, so it's like prime grounds for this. And I lived in the house where the meditation center was for several years, and before that, I had studied for a good year. I'd meditated Sunday nights. They did a Chinese meditation. So you have, the beautiful house up on the hill that's looking out over the bay towards the west, and you have, the huge golden Buddha statue and texts, and his place off to the side with his Dorjian bell, and monks coming through, and they're in their robes, and you have all the offerings, and we had various teachers come through and give empowerments, and sometimes you have to rent out like a bigger place for the empowerments or whatever, and you have like monks staying over in the house, and so it was all very fascinating. I saw a lot of like the behind the scenes preparations for empowerments and stuff like that. And just, being there, sometimes I would be the only person there or just a few other people living there. My point being that, though I don't have like the quote credentials unquote, I had, it's like more than a passing interest and familiarity with these teachings. And we had the formal teachings, the formal empowerments, but then when you're living with these people, you discuss things. Now, one of the things that has since come out is that Lama Kunga had a student who became his girlfriend, Judith Skinner. There is a great short documentary on her called On Retreat, Judith Skinner, and it's on Vimeo. She was living there when I was living there, and she was an incredible teacher. Because she had this closeness with Rinpoche. She had, intimate relation, not intimate in terms of like sexual, but like intimate spiritual counseling relationships with many different lamas and Rinpoches who came through the area, and she'd known them over many. She'd been there, I don't know, like over 15, 20 years by the time I got there. She was incredibly widely read and very articulate, delightful, and just a brilliant teacher. We meditated together. She taught me about Tara. She taught me how to recognize and interpret various deities and the type of processes associated with various deities or certain spiritual stages in the journey. And it was a fantastic team between her and Rinpoche, because he had that connection to the authentic tradition and the authentic old school way of training people up, which probably CPS would have problems with these days. But he was very adept. But then she could interpret that and teach to us, like Western middle-aged ladies, which is, I see a lot of people, and they have a lot, they put a lot of stock into like so-called authentic traditions, and there is a lot to be said for that. But the whole point of Vajrayana Buddhism is supposed to be that these are techniques you can use to start right here, right now, right away, reducing the suffering of sentient beings. And that you're going to go about it efficiently, and you're going to be able to do something about it. Hopefully you can become enlightened at some point and accumulate these merits and karma to become even more skillful. But the idea is, and the thing that Judith always said to me, and that Rinpoche was always saying to me, that we were always discussing in the Sangha, is like, How can you become more aware, to be more present, so that you can help wherever it is that you are needed, so that you can know what to do? Like learning the Heimlich maneuver, right? It's a brilliant thing to do. Anyone can do it now. Educate yourself on the signs of choking, right? And then if you're there, God, one of our, I don't know, all my neighbors are my favorite neighbors, but one of our older neighbors down the street had a choking incident a couple weeks ago, and luckily she's fine. But she ended up having to. She called 911, got off there. She was like banging on the neighbor's side of their house, and she came out, and her neighbor was able to give her some relief through because she knew the Heimlich maneuver. Right now, most people are going to think about, well, but what you want to do is you want to be able to study these ancient texts and be able to trace the lineage or know this particular mantra. It's like, well, no, actually, I had a very similar incident. It was one of the times that I think Rinpoche was like, "Oh, this person maybe has some substance to them." Was his He had a Lhasa Apso Paktro, which is like kind of Tibetan, as I understand it, for kind of like cheerful, easygoing. But this dog had bad skin conditions and it was always wanting to eat things that gave him trouble. So he was usually pretty cranky. So one time, Rinpoche and Judith and I were standing around a Paktro and somehow managed to get like a chicken bone, and they were really trying not to feed him chicken bones because they were bad for him. And so somehow I managed to, there's like a way where you don't think about what you're going to do, but you do it before you think about it. And I just ripped that bone out of his mouth because I'd had a lot of practice with Buttons, who was another Lhasa Apso. And he was looking at me like, oh yeah, because it's not like a mantra. It's not like reciting some, like, some part of the Heart Sutra in the original, I don't even know what language it was originally in. That's how ignorant I am about the scholarly aspect of this. However, the whole point of transmitting these teachings is so that we can help to reduce the suffering of sentient beings, wherever they may be, right? So, being able to keep a dog from having a problem or choking, that's great, or your neighbor. There's always things that you can do. So for me, when I hear a lot of people talk about Tibetan Buddhism, there was a guy talking about it on Vase, and I forget his name, but I was really happy to hear that because I was like, oh yeah, this sounds like what I heard. It's like thinking, sometimes all you can do is like say a mantra. There was one guy, Judith, that was telling me about, who's a longtime student of Rinpoche's, and he would just chant the Mani, the Om Mani Padme Hum, a mantra, when he would hear like sirens. When the EMT or whoever is going to go help someone, or maybe the police, not help someone, but like trying to put some more healing, helpful energy into that, which may or may not help. My own belief, based on my own experiences, is that has a possibility of helping even just on that level. But if nothing else, it reminds you to be aware at all times of what you're doing, and is there a way that you can help. So it's not like a practice on its own. It's not like, the idea isn't to be able to sit up straight and sit there in perfect lotus position for hours on end. Right in the end, no one, okay, I don't know if I'm supposed to swear on this channel. No one gives a shit in the end, right? I mean, it may or may not help. What's important about that is it's restorative to you, it's grounding to you, it's going to put you in a position where you're better able to help, whoever is around you. If you can calm your nerves, you may be able to. One time I went out in our carport, this is where I used to live, we had a lot of spider webs, and there was a dragonfly that had got caught in some cobwebs. And I was, because I do a lot of like sewing fiddly stuff, right? So I had that dexterity, and I had calm enough nerves where I was able to free this dragonfly from the cobweb. If I hadn't spent time calming myself and learning how to breathe through things and everything, I would have been too nervous. I wouldn't have been able to help. I mean, to me, that's kind of gets at the core of that. Would you notice a dragonfly in distress? Right? If you're just like, can't be present with your surroundings. And this very much goes to human interactions. If you have kids, if you have friends that are going through a creepy time, if you have neighbors, or you're like with me, I'm here with my mom, and she has some health issues, and I'm her carer, and we're around each other all the time. It's like you need to figure out a way to be present with yourself so you can be present with other people, and be helpful, and maintain, make it, still like a human connection. Um, so and I remember a lot of Rinpoche's students talking about how he had, could give a ton of different empowerments, and we would have, like the big empowerments with all the incense and the offerings and the um, surprise party favors, I guess you might call it, and drink and chanting and everything, which is just a wonderful. Um, but talk a lot about he would do like the super intense meditations when he first got to the United States, and it's like these people here, they hadn't had that training, and so they couldn't keep up. It was just too much. So he's like paring things down in a way so that people could still get the benefit of the teachings, could start to learn and develop their skill with the teachings, get that transmission to the lineage of these people who are also committed towards this project of reducing suffering in sentient human beings, and constantly being on the lookout for that and new ways to do that. So you're not spending, like years and years trying to learn some, 8,000 word long mantra or prayer or ritual, or trying to have some huge, 3D neon colored, 85 tantrikas all in various stages of undress visualization before you can finally get it together to feel like, oh, I can go out and help out at the soup kitchen, or pass out some socks to homeless people. uh, there was like always a focus on preserving the culture, preserving these teachings, but also putting them into practice, it, in your daily life, which I feel is really lost when I see a lot of talk about Buddhism and Buddhist practice. And to me, I mean, sure, people would want to be on the cushion, but it's so that you can get your ass up off it and be able to do something, and it's gonna be different for everyone, to help other people. So let me talk now about, I'm kind of blowing off Leslie Temple Thurston. She was also a systematizer, and she also had the kind of the two sides, where she has like these kind of processing techniques to rid yourself of the ego, which are pretty analytical and how do I want to say, word based. But she also had a lot of just like kind of energy practices, visualizations, direct transmission. I would go and meditate in large groups with her over a number of years. And so a lot of what I learned was just through sitting and meditating, and more direct, like Vulcan mind meld transmission, if you will. Which sounds corny, but if you can find a group that you feel comfortable with, meditating, it can really kickstart you, because this is how you learn. It's like if you wanted to learn basketball, you would go like out and practice with basketball with other people. It's the same idea with any type of a skill. So all of this is a prelude to, okay, so you want to start to meditate and get some benefit from it, but the whole idea of just like going through this whole thing, and then your back's hurting, and then you have distractions, and it's a big chunk of time, all this stuff. Okay, you're too ADHD, or you fidget, right? There are a ton of different types of meditation. And I'm just going to kind of info dump a lot of them on you. Feel free to hit me up in the comments if you want some other ideas. But and a lot of these things you can find like instructions online. Okay, so the first key is, and people say this all the time, okay, so I finally sat down to meditate and then I started falling asleep. This is fine, because you're first getting into the idea of relaxing your mind, right? A lot of people come to meditation during a time in life when they're feeling really stressed out and having trouble and balancing their lives. And so you're going to be tired. You need to sleep. This is perfect. Sleep. Sleep is also beneficial for people who are meditators. It prepares your mind to be able to observe itself more efficiently because it's already have been let's say rejuvenated, restored, right? So it can do these more complex processes. Um, and also, if you're one of the things you're trying to do through meditation and through spiritual dedication is you are trying to develop your own personal relationships with various discarnate entities and transmissions, lineages of spiritual teachings that are going to help you to help them and to help other people and other sentient beings. So if you meditate into sleep, then this provides a more open avenue for these beings to start to make contact with you. So, and this is one thing that's great if you don't have a lot of time to meditate. One of the things that you can do is find audio meditation tapes or spiritual music, or just if you have like a person who you find inspirational to listen to, just generally, you can put their YouTube on in the background and just kind of listen to the person and then think about what it is about them that inspires you, or if they have qualities that you admire that you would like to develop in yourself. And then just listen to that as you go to sleep. And then you can kind of transition into that as an intention, and hopefully it'll be relaxing and get you better sleep. This is another thing that the first thing, as opposed to sitting meditation, if you can, um, you'll want to look into savasana, the corpse pose, right, with yoga. Or you can just do progressive muscle relaxation. There are a ton of audio tapes out there that will walk you through savasana, and or progressive muscle relaxation. And it's just, you do this kind of focusing on all the various parts of your body and relaxing them. And you're building in that relaxation response. This is Lama's training for, sorry, my face itches like hell. Um, for childbirth, this is part of the whole idea, is that you can learn to generate the relaxation response. So if you're tense, you can manage to relax and become more skilled at this over time. So then you could be present, and you don't have to be like so reactive in the situation. You can express your ideals and principles and intention more fully because you're not controlled by some reactive response. So there is, I would suggest to anyone to focus on like getting your relaxation practice in as a foundational practice before you're into necessarily mindfulness or awareness. You can also, with progressive muscle relaxation, you can do kind of like a little mini one of it, or a little mini savasana when you wake up in bed in the morning. Even just like 5 minutes before you go to bed, and then if you have lunch, like at work, you can do that. Another thing you can build into your day that is excellent as a foundation for your practice is walking meditation. Thich Nhat Hanh, superstar of walking meditation. There's a ton of information on him. You can look it up, but basically just folding meditation into your walking. You can go out there. You can do my guides trained me up on like basically mindfulness meditation while walking. So you're walking and you're trying not to stew. Instead of just trying not to stew, you're actively trying to take in through your senses, paying attention to your various senses. Okay, what am I looking at? What am I hearing? What is the feeling of my body moving through this particular weather system? What are you smelling? Those type of things. Kind of focus on your sensory input as a mindfulness meditation while you're walking. Very grounding, very rejuvenating, and it brings you, how do I want to say? it develops your ability to stay in your body and express physically your spiritual intentions and principles and qualities that you're interested in, right? So if you're used to being in a more centered, grounded, loving mind space that's more neutral, while you're walking, this makes it easier if, for example, let's say well, a few times with my mom, I've found her unconscious on the floor and had to deal with 911 and dealing with Oliver freaking out, my chihuahua, getting him into the crate, trying to get mom to not get up so she doesn't pass out again. She has blood pressure problems, all that type of stuff. If all you've done is, like, sit straight, you know, on your meditation pillow, then it's harder to access that kind of state of mind, I think, when you're in motion and when things are in flux. So this is why I encourage walking meditation. It's also great if you feel like you're fidgety, you have ADHD, your hands and feet fall asleep easily, right? Then you can still get the benefit of working with your own mind, um, without having to deal with all that BS. Because I mean, that could take. I mean, I have nothing against it. I love the time that I spent, sitting around for literally, like an 8 hour day just meditating, and I loved it. But it's a pain in the ass as you get older, or if you have injuries, or you're just not the type of body that is cool with that. It can be very difficult. So you can spend so much time trying to overcome those obstacles to, like, the perfect form, that you miss the opportunity to develop knowledge of your own mind, your own thinking practices, the way emotions tend to move through your body, mind system, all these things that help you to reduce suffering in other sentient beings, right? Because you're not so reactive. So you can be more present and be more loving. Um, Other things you could do: chanting mantra, doing prayers. Even if you just learn, like, a small prayer and just say it morning and evening, middle of the day, there you go. Then you have a certain way that you are putting out to the universe that you would like to express those qualities, that you would like to, for example, cultivate a relationship with that entity who is involved in that prayer. You're reminding yourself of your own goals and your own intentions. If you are good at dreaming, if you remember your dreams, right, write them down, analyze them. You can work looking at it precognitively. You could work at developing your own ability to lucid dream. And that's, again, another way to make contact with. It's very possible to this sounds really corny. I'm just going to say it. Like, join a school, join groups of other individuals who are interested in, whatever it is that you're wanting to develop. Pardon me. And you can do this when you're sleeping. It sounds really corny, but it's something that can be done, and it's good for people who are stressed out and have very busy days. Right? You have to sleep anyway. May as well do that. Dion Fortune, as well, in her book, especially Moon Magic, has a lot of these kinds of activities and stuff laid out. But one of the things she talks about is building an astral temple, and then meditating that you're in that astral temple as you go to sleep, right? So if you're feeling besieged or something, this could be something that you can do to help you achieve more restful sleep, as well as possibly connect with other entities or teaching entities, that type of thing. Um, let's say, yoga, perfect. Find a good teacher in real life. Find someone that has information online, tapes. That can be very easy to do. There's a lot of things that could be, longer sessions, or you can find shorter sessions that you can just do bit by bit. But they could be very relaxing. And again, it's a great, what I should have said earlier, But what you're going to want to do is put your intention behind all these practices. The more that you put your intention into it, that you want to develop this relationship, um, and your own capacities, develop these qualities in yourself that you think will be helpful in your situations. This was a technique from Leslie Temple Thurston, right? Instead of looking for like a goal in particular, like I want, $500 or whatever, um, what would be the type of qualities that would help you to achieve these goals, right? So, whatever they, clarity, vision, um, being able to become more articulate or persuasive, whatever the qualities are, then this could help you. Um, but so with yoga, one of the things that I always would intend is, you get in like these kind of weird, uncomfortable positions, but to be able to be poised and relaxed and not thrown off your center just because, um, you're in some pretzel, right? Then you take that forward, like, then if you go out and you see like a car accident or something, then you're going to be more like, or someone who's upset and whatever, in your family, you're going to be more likely to, it's an uncomfortable position, but you have that ability that you've developed a skill of maintaining your poise, and equanimity in the midst of that. Any of the martial arts, fantastic. Sports in general, if you put, mindfulness and an intention uh, behind that, then I think that can really develop you as well. It's always good to develop the body because our body is that through which we express these teachings and our ways that we can help suffering beings. Right? If you're a firefighter, then you want to be big and strong so you can carry little old ladies out of burning buildings. Right? I mean, it's corny, but it's true. Um, so, yeah, finally, well, I wanted to address divination. There was a great book by Kiki Dombrowski called The Curious Future. And divination is a great way to develop your, what do you call it? Like intuition, some of your size skills and stuff. And feeling that the future and things that are going on around you you're part of all that, which can be helpful because you can expand your sense of self, which is going to make you again feel less besieged, and more able to cope with things. Now that there's a lot of creepy things going on, just horrible things going on too, but there's also a lot of larger processes and positive things going on and help that you can access, so that you don't feel like so pressed. So divination is a cool way to connect with this, and I really love Kiki's book because she just has like a 2 or 3 pages on, I don't like a couple dozen at least, various forms of divination. Everything from like, watching birds to reading the tea leaves to, all these various different types of divination. So you can just try them out and see if that seems like something you're interested in. Then if you hit on one that you think you appreciate and you feel like there's something there, you can delve into that more seriously. Of course, a lot of people are super into tarot. I've never been much about that. Kiki is a great teacher for tarot. And then Michael M. Hughes knows a lot about the history and art of tarot. And he's a good tarot teacher because I think that he has a good balance of, like, I don't want to say what I was talking about before, the word that I've forgotten about. The authentic tradition and the history versus, okay, you're here, you're with another person, how are we going to communicate with them and what's going to be important to them and what's happening with them, which may or may not be like the standard reading by according to the authentic meanings of the various tarot cards and their positions in the spread. Um, so it's a nice balance of that thinky stuff, but also intuition in the moment. What's the, as they called it, the right brain going to do with the larger picture and trying to find out what are the patterns and processes happening. Um, so that can be good. But as with all of these things, you need to gauge yourself. What can you fit in? Where are you going to start off? And always with all these practices, what is it doing for you? Are you enjoying it? Some people, divination, if you have like anxiety, divination can just be terrible. What if, what if, what if? So don't do it. You know, concentrate on relaxation, concentrate on acts of service that you can possibly do. If you have a stressful situation and you're trying to help someone, you know, consciously um, dedicate that merit, saying, okay, this is a small, one small step here, a larger step, or a huge step for mankind. It's like, okay, I'm just doing something. I may just be putting water out for the birds. Um, which could be like a wonderful water offering. But then also, you know, keep in mind that there's all these other sentient beings out there that, you know, on planet Earth. You know, I mean, how we all need water, right? So to remember that, maybe say a prayer. Um, you know, that could be a practice that would bear more fruit for you, you know, bear fruit for you, and then not be like stressing you out as opposed to like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Right. And lastly, I wanted to talk about learning from people, like people who are teachers. I mean, it's really cool to say, yeah, I live with an actual certified Rinpoche who studied in Tibet. Um, and I'm not trying to knock Lama Kunga. He actually had a really fun sense of humor. I mean, there's a reason why these Tibetans have a reputation for just being really fun and loving to laugh, is because they do, and they're, yeah, very creative, fun people. But you know, it doesn't that unless you're concerned with like the authority, the or from like a cultural perspective or something, that the main thing is the teachings, how you enact them in your life. And not everyone has that much of an auspicious circumstance where they can study with a Lama. I was only able to do it for a few years. However, you can look to the people around you who, going back to Leslie Temple Thurston, who embody qualities that you admire or that are in line with the teachings of the Buddha, or that you feel would help you, skills and qualities that would help you in the challenges in your own life. Um, and you know, these can be your neighbors, they can be online people, authors, artists, whoever. Um, and the thing with finding teachers is that we're all flawed human beings, right? Um, and I think it's important to not get caught up in the thing of, oh, I am following this person's teachings or endorsing them because they were a perfect enlightened being. Um, I think we need to learn to engage with people and learn from them, even if they're flawed. And so you have to, you know, look at people more. I don't know, like honestly, straightforwardly. You have to admit and grapple with their flaws. This, especially when it comes to authors, like people like Dion Fortune. I've spoken about all the problems with her, with racism, classism, buying into like a lot of the sexist stuff at the time. Um, but she does have other information, and especially if you are beset by discarnate beings. What can I say? Um, but you know, there's a lot of people that you can just find them invigorating or admiring them for various ways. Mitch Horowitz, recently, I always like to see what he's up to. A lot of new thought doesn't do it for me, and I've just never really got a lot of out of it, even though known a lot of people that study that, and but I never got a lot out of it. But I really appreciate Mitch, because he uh, he'll tell you about his sources and where they were from and how he came to his conclusions and what his argument is. So I appreciate that clarity of thought and presentation, but he's always uplifting. And you'll just see that, whoever, if you ask him an honest question, he'll do his best to answer. He has, when I had like 3 followers on Twitter, I'd ask him a question, and sometimes I wouldn't be like super like polite about it, and he'd always answer to the point and thoughtfully. He's always encouraging people to do what they can to better themselves and to be uplifting. And he also is of the little bite school. There's things you can, even if you could just do something small or just a little bit every day, you can build on that. So I think it's very inspirational that way. So I always am interested, even though like the intellectual part of what he's doing, although I love his history of the occult in the United States, but a lot of the New Thought stuff, I'm like, but he is a teacher. I think calls us to our higher natures. Colin Wilson, who is sadly deceased, he wrote some like just like weird, wild books about all type of crazy, very interesting stuff. But again, I love him because he's inspiring, and he'll talk about one time, he's sitting there. I had a cold, and I was just, I had all this like sinus congestion. He's trying to think about how the way that like you would try and use get rid of your sinus congestion can call you to this higher aspect of yourself that like these subconscious processes that you could be using to help further yourself and further your aims and make something more of yourself, be more creative, be more inspirational to people. And I'm thinking, this guy who just like, he's just talking about just like the absolute most mundane, parts of life that no one wants to talk about, because who wants to think about having your nose all messed up? But he's like, actually, this is an opportunity. And I can't love him more from that. Leslie Temple Thurston, I always recommend her organization, corelight.org. You can go online. They have a ton of free resources, stuff you can read, a lot of audio stuff about various topics. She has a lot of free ones. There's ones you can buy if you like her style. Beautifully produced, very uplifting, very calming. It's a great thing for if you are stressing out. You can listen to it while you're, drifting off to sleep or trying to take a nap. If you zonk out, perfect. So she's explicitly spiritual, but there's music, art, anything that it's another thing. People are kind of like, okay, like this, there's not everyone. A lot of people say there's the spiritual art, the spiritual music, the spiritual reading, and then the stuff that just, you just enjoy. If you are enjoying things and you are a serious person as far as wanting to be able to uplift and help other sentient beings, enjoyment is part of that. If you're in a better mood, if you feel uplifted, clear, you're not being weighed down by your own bullshit, right? Because you were listening to, I don't know, Fleetwood Mac or something to put you in a good mood, that's setting you up for helping other sentient beings, right? That whole expression of putting on your own oxygen mask before you help other people when they come down on the plane. I mean, it's a cliche because it's true. So anything that you can do to help support your own self and lift your own spirits. Altars can be beautiful this way, to just provide a space that is dedicated to this part of yourself that you want to encourage and develop. A place of beauty, a place where you can think about the larger picture and the traditions and lineages and people that you want to connect with. I don't have an altar. I just have a big mess. But it's different for everyone. And, altars can be beautiful that way too. Because it can be a thing of beauty for other people. I love it when people post their altars or their malas or their devotional work online, because it reminds you, it calls you back to yourself at that moment. Again, eating, just a small prayer, mindfulness while you're eating. You have to eat anyway. it becomes more nourishing for you. Uh, there's all these different ways that you can work these things into your life. I would say if you could find things that you're having to do anyway and can knit your spiritual and mindfulness, prayer, mantra, dedication into these activities of daily life, um, that's perfect. And then also as well, remember to learn savasana. Remember to learn to relax. That is one thing that's going to be incredibly beneficial for you, and it's going to be foundational for everything else. I think that people worry too much about stopping thinking or trying to concentrate on wherever the fuck, the moon. Actually, that's I love concentrating on it, but you know what I mean. Instead of just like learning to relax, learning to support your physical form as best you may, so that then you can go into all these other things. I mean, it's cool if someone, you know, like your teacher can communicate with you telepathically or something, and that has usefulness when it comes to supporting sentient beings. But yeah, I think just being able to have some clarity, be able to get your rest, being able to be present, especially if you're caring for other people or around other people, that's going to be incredibly beneficial. And to me, that gets more towards the teachings of Vajrayana Buddhism than, uh, you know, being able to tell all the various. Oh, hi. Hi, Spirit of Twilight. I hope you're feeling better. Thank you for watching. Um, I think that gets more towards the heart of the teachings, um, than you know, being able to uh, you know, chant the uh, various names of Tara or something. Although that's pretty fun. Anyway, let me know if you have any questions below, and I hope this isn't too scattered. This is something I've been wanting to try and get down in a more organized form, but unfortunately my health is still a little more a little helter skelter. So I figured, oh, hi Rachel, thank you so much. It's nice to see you guys here. Uh, so I figured, even though this is called Skillful, means it may not be skillful, but hopefully it'll give you guys some a little bit of a framework and a little bit of inspiration and a little bit of ideas on how you can um, use meditation to the benefit of all sentient beings. So yeah, I'm going to try and figure out how to close this out. But oh, and if you have watched this and you have found it helpful, I don't usually ask this, but if you could share it, because I feel like that people aren't exposed to these ideas as much as they should be. And it's been startling to me to see the difference in kind of online presentations of a lot of this material, versus what it was like for me to live with a Rinpoche, my life with a Rinpoche. And Judith Skinner, again, the video about her is called On Retreat. Judith Skinner. So thanks again. Let me see if I can close this out.